Sometimes humans search for things they aren't supposed to, and sometimes they find things they weren't supposed to find either. Here's 5 unusual things that humans found. The kraken lair. When we gaze upon the colossal skeletons of dinosaurs and other prehistoric beasts, it's easy to understand there was once a world where everything was impossibly large. Sharks, crocodiles, snakes, and other species we know seem minuscule compared to the fossilized evidence of their ancient origins, but what does that mean for the already alarmingly massive giant squid? Many of us remember a time when giant squids were included in cryptozoology books alongside Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and extraterrestrial aliens because that time was 2004 and was not actually all that long ago. Kraken and giant squid were considered the same fictional cryptoid until pictures were captured by Japanese researchers. Embarrassingly, scientists were wrong twice and a whole other species of giant squid was also discovered, the colossal squid. That makes it a bit of a hard sell to say there couldn't have been an even larger tentacled monster of the deep that was an evolutionary ancestor to the mysterious cephalopods that are still difficult for researchers to find. Fossilized squid are a notorious rarity due to how they are mostly made up of squishy bits that decompose instead of turning to stone in a fossilization process, although sometimes beaks or other bone-like structures have been preserved. Some believe the evidence of their existence can be found in a strange arrangement of fossilized ichthyosaur bones, or essentially the kraken equivalent of playing with your food after it's done eating. This behavior is found in modern octopi who arrange fish bones into patterns in their middens, and it's believed their prehistoric ancestors may have done the same. Perhaps the history of the giant squid has not been fully uncovered just yet. Nessie. Could it be true? After centuries of folklore and exciting myths, it looks like the legendary Loch Ness Monster has finally been spotted on camera. Owen O'Faghagane, a 58-year-old Nessie hunter and regular Loch Ness webcam monitor, had his camera placed at Shoreland Lodges, near Fort Augustus on the southern shore of the loch. The extraordinary moment when he captured the creature on camera was on a beautiful Thursday evening when the loch was still. To his amazement, he noticed a massive 20-foot wake on the water's surface. Owen believed that the camera moved on its panning, and by the time it got back to the spot, Nessie was gone. He also believes there may be 2 big creatures living in the loch's depths. Things were even weirder for Owen because just 2 weeks ago he caught 2 humps popping out from the water. Owen said, "The length of the visible wake is in excess of 20 feet, and the creature responsible must be very large underneath the water. Certainly it's too large for known animals or fish that live in the loch. Otters would never reach sizes of that magnitude, or seals for that matter. When I spotted the wake and the camera stopped rotating, to see the water breaking was exhilarating." He continued by saying, "The calm conditions and clear evening colors of the surrounding landscape were picturesque. The only thing missing was the Loch Ness Monster, and up she popped." Owen's camera was placed by Visit Inverness Loch Ness and is located at a point where there's a sudden drop in the bed of the loch, with water reaching depths of 450 feet, according to his estimation. This unusual spot led Owen to observe the creature breaking the water, and he soon shared his amazement with the public. Since the sighting, the banks around the loch are said to be a buzz of activity, and people are hoping they can catch a glimpse of the mythical creature. For centuries, people have been fascinated with the Loch Ness Monster, but the mystery behind it still remains. Could this new evidence be the answer we've been looking for? Is the legendary monster real, or is it all a myth? Only time will tell, but Owen was certain of his experience, and this footage could be the proof needed to prove the Loch Ness Monster really does exist. The Gray Blob. In 2019, a large gray blob was spotted on the shores of Santa Barbara's Coal Oil Point Reserve in Southern California. Unfortunately, no one was able to identify the creature correctly. The only characteristic everyone could agree on was that it was massive, at almost 7 feet long and close to 600 pounds. After taking some pictures and going to social media for answers, the team at the reserve received help from a marine biologist. But no one was ready for the creature's rare identification. A 7-foot, 600-pound creature that has been washed up on the beach is hard to ignore, especially when employees of the COPR had no clue what it was. Well, that's not entirely true. They thought it looked strangely familiar, but after a closer look, they realized they were off target. What was this sea creature, and why did it wash up on the beach? At first, the COPR experts believed that the sea creature was a sunfish. That type of bony fish is one of the largest on Earth. Some of these fish have even been recorded to weigh almost 2,000 pounds. And while this washed-up critter seemed to fit the bill, something about it just didn't match up to the description of a sunfish. The creature was large enough to be a sunfish, but the experts soon realized it was something else altogether. And, as horrible as it is, when the employees had found it, the creature was already dead. The reserve is protected by the University of California, Santa Barbara, and is said to be one of the best examples of a coastal strand environment. Hopefully, one of the researchers would have some idea as to what the creature was. The reserve is right alongside the Pacific Ocean, so it's no stranger to a wide variety of sea creatures, fauna, and vegetation. Researchers have said that there is no shortage of magnificent creatures swimming around in the depths, but nothing of this washed-up animal's magnitude. A conservation specialist named Jessica Nielsen was quoted in a University of California, Santa Barbara press release saying that the finding had initially shocked her. After seeing the photos of the mysterious creature on social media, evolutionary biologist Thomas Turner became interested in it. As an evolutionary biologist, one would think that Turner might have had some kind of knowledge as to what this creature could be. Unfortunately, he was just as stumped as Nielsen. But that doesn't mean he didn't grab his family and rush down to the beach to get a closer look. During an interview with CNN in February of 2019, Turner had stated that it was the most unusual fish he'd ever seen. It had no tail. All of its teeth are fused, so it didn't have any, it's just this big round opening for a mouth. Turner even went as far as showing the magnitude of the creature's body by stretching his wingspan against its length. With no tail, a huge 7-foot body, and weighing a whopping 600 pounds, the researchers at the COPR came to the conclusion that the creature was, in fact, a common sunfish, also known as a common mola. The team then posted pictures of their find to iNaturalist, a social media platform for environmentalists, to see if anyone wanted to weigh in. The overall consensus was that the creature was an ocean sunfish. But not all is what it seems, and after someone looped in the South Australian Museum's fish expert, Ralph Foster, everyone's assumptions were once again thrown out the window. After Foster took a good look at the animal, he also concluded that it was just a common ocean sunfish. He originally thought that the creature wasn't among any documented fish species. With that new thought, Foster turned to someone he thought would have some answers. Not sure whether he was correct, Foster decided to contact Marianne Nygaard, a marine biologist. After shooting off an email with a brief explanation and pictures of the creature, he waited and hoped he was going to get some solid answers. At this point, even a lead would have been nice. Unfortunately, she wasn't moved by the photos and was unable to draw any certain conclusions. Therefore, she was unable to positively identify the mystery species. It's not that Nygaard was giving up identifying the creature, it's just that she needed better visual aids to help. During an interview, she stated, "The pictures weren't very clear. I was reluctant to settle on an identification because it was so far out of range." She was now on a mission with Foster to figure out what type of creature washed up on the shore near the reserve. So, they got in touch with Nielsen and Turner, asking for better quality pictures. Nielsen and Turner were more than happy to go back down to the beach and snap some better photographs for the two scientists to look over. But that's when an issue came up. When the two went down to the beach, the creature was no longer there. A few days had passed since the initial spotting, and it seemed as though the tide had come and washed the creature away. But they weren't going to give up that easily. Starting at opposite ends of the beach, Nielsen and Turner walked toward each other while looking over the landscape. They were hopeful the creature would turn up sooner or later. And they were right. Just a little ways away from its original location was the giant gray blob. Now, they were able to snap some higher definition photographs to send out to the scientists. With any luck, the pictures would help bring some answers. While snapping the pictures, Nielsen and Turner took another look over the mysterious creature. They noticed a few distinct markings that they didn't see before. The markings were a huge breakthrough in the case because it proved that their original common sunfish classification was actually wrong. Now they really had to get those pictures back. They were so close to figuring out the truth behind the huge sea creature. Once the photos got into the hands of Nygaard, the true nature of the fish came to light. Nygaard told CNN that once she had realized what the scientists had found, she nearly fell out of her chair. After reviewing the second batch of photos that Nielsen and Turner took, Nygaard figured out the true identity of the sea creature. Instead of being a common sunfish, the massive creature was actually a hoodwinker sunfish. Ironically, back in 2017, Nygaard was the marine scientist to discover and name the hoodwinker species. With there being so many different sunfish varieties, it's amazing that the scientists were able to narrow down the identification. Sunfish were first discovered back in 1758, but then scientists were only privy to the common ocean sunfish, unaware that there were so many different varieties of the fish in the depths of the ocean. It wasn't until much later that a new type of sunfish was spotted in the southern hemisphere, off the coast of Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and other places. It was then that Nygaard decided to look for the mysterious creature herself. During her CNN interview, she mentioned that the hoodwinker had gone unnoticed because no one really realized it looked different and that there's a long history of confusion about the species in the sunfish family. She also said that the fish had managed to stay out of sight and out of everybody's attention. It made people think it was a common ocean sunfish, so she said it was hoodwinking them, creating its name, the hoodwinker sunfish. At first, she said a hoodwinker sunfish didn't even cross her mind since there had never been a spotting of the fish anywhere close to the United States. During an interview with The Guardian, Nygaard said, "That's as far north as I have seen the hoodwinker that corresponds to cold water current. For this fish to suddenly rock up in California is really exciting." She went on to explain that while the typical waters for the hoodwinker sunfish are in the southern hemisphere, it's not exactly abnormal for sunfish to drift far. In any case, the find was very exciting for the scientific community. Mystery object. Lake Ontario's mysterious depths have been attracting attention for years. Lake Ontario was formed during the last ice age by the Wisconsin ice sheet. It was once considered a bay on the Atlantic Ocean until it expanded to its current size. Today, the lake continues to expand due to climate change, causing glaciers to melt and water levels to rise. The lake has 634 miles of shoreline and an additional 78 miles of shore on its islands. It connects to the Niagara River, home of the Niagara Falls, and 9 other rivers flow into it. In 2017, a group of researchers, funded by the OEX Recovery Group Incorporated, set out to recover a unique piece of history that had been rumored to be sitting at the bottom of the lake. Their mission, Raise the Arrow, was shrouded in secrecy to avoid getting people's hopes up, but the team was excited to explore the unexplored. No one, not even the team members, knew what they were seeking. This added to the excitement and mystery of the mission. Scientists estimate that 65% of the planet remains unexplored. For explorers, this is an irresistible call to adventure. Humans have an innate desire to explore the unknown and discover new treasures, and Lake Ontario is just one of the many mysteries waiting to be uncovered. As such, the researchers behind the mission were motivated to uncover hidden treasures. The team was sent to Lake Ontario after sightings of a valuable and unique object had been reported. Their objective was to find and recover the underwater treasures rumored to be hidden in the lake's depths for years. As the value of objects decreases as they erode, time was of the essence. OEX was eager to fund and provide the resources needed to start the mission. Underwater missions can be expensive and time-consuming, with no guarantee of success. Although there was a chance of finding hidden treasures, there was also a chance that the team would come up empty-handed. The team was under pressure to deliver, and everyone involved was waiting in anticipation to see what they discovered. The first sighting of an object at the bottom of the lake was reported in 1950. Over half a century has passed since then, and few details about the object have been revealed. Locals who claim to have seen it described it as something that vanished as quickly as it appeared. The team on the mission had little to go on, but they were still up for the challenge. The object spotted by the locals was gone in a flash, but the image haunted them for years. Locals waited for the mission to start, hoping the mystery would finally be solved. The team took on the task of interviewing the locals to help them uncover what was truly hidden at the bottom of Lake Ontario. The Thunderfish is an underwater drone used to explore the depths of Lake Ontario. With a sonar-powered camera, it can take high-resolution images of its surroundings. The team navigated it around the lake bed, capturing clear images. The explorers discovered something special hidden beneath the lake's surface. The team discovered an aircraft. This aircraft turned out to be the Avro CF-100 Canuck, a one-of-a-kind jet fighter built in the 1950s. It was nicknamed the Clunk, and it was better than anything the Canadian leaders could have hoped for. The new aircraft remained active in the Canadian military until the 1980s. The Cold War was a time of high tensions between the West and the East. Both sides prepared for a big battle, but it never happened. With democracy ruling the West and communism ruling the East, third world countries did their best to stay neutral. With the creation of atomic bombs, both sides could devastate the other. Despite the mutual knowledge that this would result in irreversible mass destruction, they used it as a threat instead. Many countries felt that possessing superior weapons was the only way to remain safe. During this time, the USSR built an aircraft large enough to transport their weapons to the United States and Canada, flying over the Arctic. This temporarily put them in the lead. After Canadian leaders caught wind of this, they launched the Avro Canada Limited, a company that employed a group of engineers committed to developing something even better than the Soviet aircraft. The Avro CF-100 Canuck was the result of this search for a superior aircraft. The discovery of this aircraft hidden beneath Lake Ontario's surface is a reminder of the tensions and technological advancements that characterized the Cold War. Before we get to the last one, as always, don't forget to tap that like and subscribe button. Purple creatures. Look, but don't touch. That's the message from marine biologists as Southern California sees an influx of jellyfish-like creatures known as Velella, or by-the-wind sailors. Dana Wharf Whale Watching in Orange County posted a video of the strange purple blobs that travel with the ocean currents and winds. Beachgoers say they are washing ashore by the thousands along the Southern California coast, including at Huntington Beach, Zuma Beach, Manhattan Beach, and Salt Creek Beach. They have also been spotted further north. By-the-wind sailors are known as colonial hybrids, meaning they're a colony of tiny creatures, similar to the Portuguese man-o'-war. The animals aren't classified as jellyfish, despite their jelly-like appearance. They feed on algae and zooplankton and are a favorite meal for sunfish. When they wash up on beaches, the creatures can look like deflated balloons or pieces of plastic. They also start to lose their color as they dry on land. They've washed up along the California coastline in groups before. Between 2014 and 2016, several hundred thousands had blanketed West Coast beaches and drew crowds to check them out. Like jellyfish, by-the-wind sailors also have stinging cells, so marine biologists say people should avoid touching them. But generally, they are not considered to be dangerous to humans.